Hey y'all, hey, it's Patty with Giddy Things. I'm excited to have the tripod back. Isn't that exciting? With the ring light attached to it, that disembodied voice glued that back together for me, for us, and I really appreciate it. I didn't really want to get a new one because this one works perfectly fine, and it was something I just have to be a little gentle with it, right? So right now I am adopting new books for my courses, the college where I teach, for fall of 2025, and I'm thinking about using a different novel in the second half of freshman composition. I'm teaching children's literature and British literature in the two halves of freshman composition, and the British literature I kind of have set up with the books that I'm thinking are best for my students right now, but I'm using a different book for 111 for the first half of freshman composition for their novel reading. Now, they maintain a relationship with this little yellow book, The Lively Art of Writing by Lucille Vaughan Payne. I've used other books, I've gone back and forth, and I kind of settled into this one over the decades because it's just the best book, I think, to talk about all kinds of grammar style and usage and those sorts of things for freshman composition students. They like it and they relate to it. So let's see which book I choose for English 112. I've kind of got it narrowed down a little bit, but I'm not there yet. I made my decision about books for my courses, so I am going to have a new novel in, take those off, in my 111 course. I'm going to use Kazuo Ishiguro's book, Clara and the Sun, which is a dystopian book. And it's really kind of, it was published in 2021 during the pandemic, and so it's really kind of got a lot of issues and themes I'd like to see my students explore, about things like artificial intelligence, friendship, the definition of friendship, what it means to spend time with friends, what that, the physical presence, the physical presence versus the social online presence, those kinds of things that I think students would enjoy thinking about and writing about right now and would get a lot of benefit from. So that is going to be for my 111 class. I'm going to stay with Rainbow Rowell's Eleanor and Park for my 112 class because as they're writing the research paper, I really do like for them to have a book that they don't feel a lot. I mean, there's some complexity to the plot, but not a lot of complex emotions about, so that they can really focus on, there's a word, y'all, literary theory. So they can focus on literary theory and have some straightforward ideas about that and applying literary theory to social constructs. So that's for that. Now, the next decision I have to make is about my English class that's the British literature class. We're going to read the same novel, which is so good. It's got everything. It's Ian McEwan's Atonement. And we read that and we take a careful lens to that. And what we do is we paste, y'all, we place that alongside the other things we're reading. So, I mean, like beginning with Anglo-Saxon poetry and Beowulf, as soon as they've had a chance to read the novel Atonement, which is about 15 days into the class, everything we do from that point on, we also have a lens on the novel. So we're applying, like, say for instance, I think I made another video when I was having my students write about Paradise Lost and Atonement earlier in this semester. And so they'll do work specifically on the time period we're working in with that kind of literature, and then they'll take it out and look at it in a 20th century way from a 20th century lens by comparing and contrasting it with the ideas and constructs associated with atonement. And it's got lots of complicated stuff in it that you can play with, from point of view to sibling relationships to family in general, to what it means to be family, to what it means to be affiliate kin. If you're not familiar with that sociological term, affiliate kin, and you may already know this, are people you bring into your family who are not placed there biologically or by adoption, right? So biologically and by adoption, that's just your kin, right? But when you have family friends, people you may have grown up calling aunt and uncle, or may have grown up with, and you say she's like a sister, or later on when you make friends who are like a sister or becomes sort of affiliate siblings to you, that's called affiliate kin. And so there's a lot of stuff in there with it, a lot of difficult things about what it means to forgive, what it means to be sorry for having hurt someone, what it means to atone, hence the title Atonement. And so students typically like to read that book. And the disembodied voice reminded me when I was like, gosh, do I need to change? Do I need to change things up a little bit? Because I can sort of be quick to do that. He was like, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I'm going to keep those novels there, but I was going to choose a new novel anyway for 111. So that gave me that little creativity to play with the text for the course. And that was fun. I really liked that. In writing, I'm going to put my glasses on for a moment because I wanted to share with you some of the stuff that we will be doing in the children's literature. I have not taught children's literature in a few years, and so I wanted to rewrite the course. Of course, I couldn't make it easy. I wanted to rewrite, but it does need to be rewritten because things have changed. So I'm teaching a lot of student teachers in this children's literature course, and I'll try not to glare at you, for the glasses glare at you. I won't glare at you. But let me look at my list. I'm going to go to my master course file and find where did I put this, y'all? I just had this pulled up. It was just here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so in this children's literature book, I've redone this. When I taught it most recently, a few years ago, I taught it as an adolescent fiction class with dystopian adolescent fiction at the center of that. And then now I am teaching it as a survey course. And so, because it is for baby teachers, I don't know how to say it. It's for people who are in our education program and are going to transfer out into other education programs. And people who are recertifying as teachers sometimes also take our courses. And so if you wonder what I'm looking at the screen because I have my course file where I've written the course, for lack of a better, or where I'm writing it. And I wanted to tell you some of the texts I decided to use. So I'm going to start with the Grimm brothers, with those folk and fairy tales, specifically Hansel and Gretel, Cinderella, and Little Red Cap, which you may have heard called something else. Charles Perrault's Sleeping Beauty, Puss in Boots, and Bluebeard. Hans Christian Andersen. Did you see that movie with Danny Kaye? I love that movie as a child. I love it now. And we'll be reading stuff like The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, and The Emperor's New Clothes. It's one of my favorites. And this is so we can address kind of history and tradition and have some comparative analysis of different versions of the same story. So for that, I'll be using what's called OER, Open Educational Resources, where I will get these things that are out of copyright for free for my students to use, because there's no point, in necessarily purchasing them unless I can find a really inexpensive version, some anthologies of these, because I really do want, and I have time to do that still before the fall, I think. I'd like for people to have these in hard copy too, because, you can print them out, but as a teacher, you really need, especially if you're going to teach K through 12 and especially K through 8, you need to have a teaching library, right? It's nice to have these books, and my students can keep these books as they go forward because they're not textbooks, they're the actual books themselves. So after that, we will move on. So that's fairy tales and folklore, which is how I begin the course, with traditions, comparing those traditions, interpretation of those traditions. Then 19th century British literature, where we're going to focus on the Golden Age in particular, and fantasy. I lost it, y'all. I wrote it down. Fantasy realism. So fantasy and then realism and gender, because that's an important construct to start thinking about with young people as they're developing. And And so for that, it'll be things like Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Louisa May Alcott's Little Women, just part one of that, because we don't really have time to read the whole book, but some people will. If people really love reading, they'll do it. And then Treasure Island, Robert Louis Stevenson. So this is all kinds of stuff where we can get to the norms of gender roles, whether it's American, whether it's European, right? So that helps a lot. And Treasure Island's are really good. It's adventure genre, and at the same time, it really plays with the concept of masculinity, so that's helpful. Then early 20th century, a focus on American fantasy in particular, anthropomorphism. If you're not familiar with what anthropomorphism is, it's taking things that are not human and giving them human qualities and human actions. And childhood, and the journey that is childhood. For that, we'll have The Wizard of Oz, Winnie the Pooh. So that's L. Frank Baum and A. A. Milne. Frances Hodgson. I can say it, Hodgson. Oh, y'all, Hodgson Burnett. I can get it out. The Secret Garden, and they're so, oh my gosh, if you've not read The Secret Garden, I think you'd love it. There's a really good movie. There's lots of good movies made of The Secret Garden, but the one I really like a lot, I'm trying to remember what the little girl's name is, who's the central character in that, who plays the character in that. But I'll pop it up on the screen, which version of the film I'm talking about that I think is particularly magical. And so this will allow us to get into, childhood was sort of invented in the Western sense by the Victorians. And this allows us to get really deeply into Victorian culture around children's literature, and also around the differences in how kids were taught to see life in the Victorian period, how they're taught to see it now through reading, and then also what the conflict and the tension is between those two types, and how much of the Victorian literature still impacts us. So we can do that all with Burnett's work, and we'll do little works around that I'll just bring up in class. And so those are things that I think I can get my students for free. The things that they will purchase, which is so exciting because I'll have a set of these too. I'm so excited. And I have a lot of these books already, and I won't repurchase them. I have them from when the kids were younger. So picture books we'll have Where the Wild Things Are by Sindak. Ezra Jax Keats' The Snowy Day, which is just such a beautiful book. And then John Klassen's I Want My Hat Back. So I'm excited about those. So that ranges everything from foundational picture books to artistic representation to diversity and unique cultural perspectives. And then with I Want My Hat Back, I'm doing that a lot for kind of a contemporary example that has a lot of stuff in it that we can peel out of it layer by layer. For the mid-20th century, we're going to read Charlotte's Web by E.B. White and Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor, which is, they're just both beautiful. I'm so excited. I'm getting so much more excited just reading them out. And we'll move after that into young adult literature with genre development, contemporary issues, and dealing with things like voice in literature with S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders. I don't know if I've told you this or not, but I sign my emails to my students with Stay Gold. It's Stay Gold, and that's from The Outsiders. If you've ever read it, you know what I'm talking about. Nothing Gold Can Stay. It's based on something a character says about a Robert Frost poem called Nothing Gold Can Stay, but it's Stay Gold. Excuse me. So The Outsiders, and then I'm still kind of trying to pick between Angie Thomas's The Hate You Give or Elizabeth Acevedo's The Poet X. I'm having a hard time choosing, but I'll get there really soon, and I'm going to have to because I need to put these books into our textbook. What is it? Our textbook resource that our students get the textbooks from is not a physical bookstore. It's an online source. So then we'll have a graphic novel. I'm very excited to teach American-born Chinese. It was one that the Handy Helper really loved and continues to love. So that's going to be neat. I think that's going to be super neat. I need to just leave my glasses on, y'all. So that's Jean Nguyen Yang, who wrote American-born Chinese, which again is a graphic novel. So that's probably where we will end up with. I think I'm probably going to use The Giver by Lois Lowry. I'm still thinking a little bit about that. I feel I represent cultures pretty well in this. So I think it's kind of really well. So I'd like to make that choice still. So I still have some choices to make there. I'm not completely finished with choosing books for the children's literature class. Of course, along with my British literature class, there's an anthology in that class that is a free online educational resource through Galileo, which is one of the OER, or online educational resources, which are typically free. Not always, but the ones I use are free. So if we're going to pay for it, we're going to get at least some kind of print version out of it. But I try to keep those prices as low as I can for my students. It can be difficult to do because textbooks are really expensive, but I believe more in using living books. And let me explain what I mean by that. That's a Charlotte Mason idea. We talked about Charlotte Mason one time with something that I bought at a thrift store. This idea that you can use living texts as textbooks, that it doesn't have to be something that was put together by someone to be a textbook. Now, there are great textbooks out there, but textbooks tend to have a sell-by date. And what that means is new stuff is happening all the time. And once the textbook is printed, that's it, or digitized, that's it. And you have to have a new edition to bring out any new things or add things to it. If we use living books, there's no end to what we can do. And what do we mean by living books? These are just fictional books, nonfiction books that were written from a specific, point of view. But mostly it ends up being in English fiction. So the book is never going to, quote unquote, go out of date or go out of style because it is the primary text. And so it's using primary text instead of, y'all always have a little kitty cat ear thing going up there, instead of necessarily textbooks. Now, anthologies can be really good, and anthologies are just a collection of primary works with some editorial comments to introduce them, usually some critical editions, critical texts. And we will be using as many critical texts as we can find for the children's literature class, but it's really difficult to get the same kind of experience reading from an anthology or for something that's been digitized if you're trying to regain or sort of experience, even for the first time, reading books as a child. A board book, you need to handle that book. You need to have that tactile experience. If you think about little baby books, and this doesn't go back all the way to infants, even though you can read any book to a baby, right? That's, of course, good for the baby. But like Pat the Bunny, if you think about that book, for instance, Pat the Bunny has, and other books too, have a tactile experience with that. There's something for you to literally feel the things that are on the page. Or if you are familiar with Rainbow Fish, with that book, there's the way that the shimmery page interacts differently from just words on a page. And so kids are taking things in all different kinds of ways, and it behooves teachers who teach children to understand that experience and to be able to explore that effectively with their students. So that's what that class is about. As you can tell, I'm really excited about it. It's oh man, it's almost like trying to contain my excitement is like trying to contain my excitement about, I don't know, my family. And it's not exactly the same. And of course, it's my faith, my family, and my students. But oh my gosh, getting to choose these books for people is just such a privilege, and I take it super seriously, and I want to make good choices. And there's so many choices out there. It's a process of elimination. So many things that I'll have to leave out that I think, oh man, I wish we could have done that. But for now, we're doing it as a survey course and not as a thematic course. So I think I will probably do that moving forward, unless I'm doing it as continuing education for high school teachers, for example. Like, that's the way I taught it most recently, a few years ago. And I did that differently because I had high school teachers who were really wanting to explore novels. And so in that course, in 16 weeks, I think we read 14 novels, and they loved it. But these are all post-traditional students. They're already teachers. And the people who are coming to me for this in the fall are people who are, like I said, baby teachers. I just love them. Who are fired up and excited and approaching education as educators for the first time. That's really exciting to share your passion for teaching with other people. So anyhow, I thought I would share that information with y'all. Another thing I wanted to do, because I like to switch it up and change it up. I recently got, and there's a video about this, a video from a weird angle because I didn't have my my lovely ring light with tripod. But this one, okay, here's one of my samples that I got. And I'll give you some context for this in case you haven't seen the other video, and I'm going to use this. This is very tacky. I'm not tacky in a bad way. I mean tacky like sticky. There's what that looks like. So that is what I'm about to put on a list. This is Iconic Beverly Hills, and this is a little sample that I got. Like I said, there's another video about this that'll go up before this one does. That is from, let me help if I could see. That is from Airshop. I keep wanting to call it airdrop. I'll say that more than one time in the video. Some samples that I got and how that works. And I put this on. Oh, y'all, what is it? Let me pause and look for the list and I'll be right back. This product is the Iconic London Luster Lip Oil in She's a Peach. And this was a sample, as I showed you. And I'll speak to this more in the other video, but I really like the way this looks. It was, I want to say it was shinier the first time I put it on. Maybe I had more product at that point. But these little samples are a little difficult to work with. Now, if I had a brush to use with it instead of just my finger, here we go. It would be, yeah, that's shiny again. It would be easier to handle. And they do tell you to put it on with a brush. I'm the one who decided to put it on with my finger. And I don't know. I love the product, but I'm in a place, and I don't know, tell me how you feel about this. I'm in a place when I put stuff on my lips like this, I haven't found a lot of things that perform like the Anastasia Beverly Hills lip gloss perform. It stays on through all kinds of activities. And I know I don't expect to be able to like wipe my lips and have the lipstick stay on, or drink something from a mug and be able to have this is lip oil to stay on. But I want to be able to use something like that. Being careful not to smudge it with the part of my lips that the oil is on and have it last. This has been pretty good today. But again, it's just there's a finickiness about the samples, but I got to try it, right? I'm really grateful for that. I don't think I would probably purchase it, even though I do like it. It's not different enough in any kind of specific way for me to feel like it's something that I need to purchase. And plus I have plenty of product, but I just wanted to try this out. And to be honest, I wanted to try it out to review it, even though I'm not monetized or sponsored, to review Airshop in general. So that's going to be coming up in a video. Well, you will have probably already seen it. It depends on what order you're watching the videos in, but that's something that, I was excited about doing. But as I say in another video, once the honeymoon period is over, you just get the stuff in the mail and you're like, oh yeah, I'm so happy about it. And then you start to look at it and think about whether or not you'd purchase. I think it's a great product. I think if I were younger, I would be more likely to purchase this, because now I really like to have things on my lips that are going to either stay the distance, don't have any tint to them whatsoever, or going to stay to the distance and have a little tint. If I'm going to on purpose wear a bold lip, I will do that on purpose, and usually I won't do as much with my eye makeup as I'm doing like today. So that was that. I wanted to talk a little bit about literature and a little bit about that, about makeup, because, you know, I want everybody to walk away, and I know this is probably, to walk away from the videos with the idea that you can be all kinds of you at one time. I'm a serious academic, I'm a serious researcher and theorist and writer, but I'm also this giddy girl who likes to play with her lip gloss, and I'm also this person who some days does not want anything on my face except skincare, and even then I probably don't want to have to deal with it, but I typically do. I'm all kinds of people at one time, and it's possible for you to be as complex as you are and as nuanced, I like that word a lot, as you are, and also to be so loved just for who you are, right? Nobody has to put you in a compartment or pigeonhole you in any one kind of personality. You can be a multitude of things at one time. I hope you know how much I love you and how grateful I am for you, because I really am. It's not just platitudes when I say that. It's something that I feel from my heart, hair all over my face. And, I really do think that sometimes we just need to hear that we're loved on a daily basis. Everybody does. So go tell somebody that you love them. I think that's a wonderful thing to walk away from this video with. Please do also go in peace and love to serve others. And please do continue to pray for our country, the United States of America, and for the beautiful, beleaguered, war-torn, but resistant and resilient Ukraine.